Well, welcome everybody. In that lull there that I kind of got naturally, I'm going to call this meeting to order. It's nice to see everybody. You don't know how you all make my week. I get all anxious and everything about getting this meeting all set up, and then everybody shows up and it just makes my week. I'm so happy you're here. So, a couple of announcements. There's still some t-shirts that you can purchase back there. I think it's a really good deal on t-shirts. We have pins. You can.
They're over here too by the shirts.
Over by the shirts too, the little blue pins. Freddie did a little modification on these pins. I have to show you, it's pretty slick because I try to wear it everywhere. And so I'd have holes poked in all my shirts, but I ground the pin off and put a magnet on it.
I like that.
Let's see, it seems like there's, you probably noticed the cameras. This is not exactly a hybrid meeting, but we're going to try to post the meeting on our YouTube channel after the meeting. So that's what we have all the cameras here for. That's pending us understanding all the technology, and the folks that have been working with me on the phone bank realize that me understanding all the technology might be a reach, but we'll do our best. One of the things that I intend to start doing in every meeting is start with our vision and mission. So I'll go ahead and read both of those. Our vision is that we see a county with a diversified economy, vibrant downtowns in every community, expanded health care, great public education, and an inclusive community with affordable housing and excellent public services. And our mission is to elect Democrats. So did everybody get a copy of the minutes or saw the minutes in your email or something? I would entertain a motion to amend the minutes.
Second.
There's a couple of things that we have to do. That's all right. Yes, Freddie moved. Yeah. Josephine seconded. The way I do these minutes is Freddie furiously takes notes. I just read her notes into a text to a voice to text little program, actually just Word, and then do a little editing and publish the notes. I did a really bad job of editing the last time. So there's a couple of times in the minutes that I tried to say WIO file, and the program heard WILE file. I suggest we...
That says wildfire.
Wildfire at one point, yes. So I suggest correcting that to WIO file in the 2 or 3 instances that it appears. Anything else anybody see that they'd like to amend? Is there a motion to accept the minutes?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. The minutes are approved. So that brings us to the treasurer's report and Mr. Cromley. And you get a microphone tonight, Dave.
I think there's probably enough, hope there's enough copies. Do I speak into this? Well, is this about right?
Jim's shaking his head, yes.
Oh. So this is always year to date, so a lot of it's, well, the beginning balance is always the same. It's the beginning of the year. Let me just say, before I say any numbers, that if you donated last month and you don't see that there's any donations from last month, well, it was in the can and it'll be deposited next month. So, and then it seems like that Act Blue number might be low. It's because the checks come in weekly, but sometimes I don't get them deposited, so that varies. It'll be made up. They eventually get deposited. So, the income, the 10,188 there in the second line is from last month's report. The income is the Act Blue 302, and the contest every race is they pay us quarterly, and which is $200 a month, $600, 902 income. Total income, which will be on next month, is 11,091. And the expense this month is the website and the storage unit And new is office rent, and I assume Ted will say something about that. Total expense this month, $453. Our ending balance is $15,638. Sounds good, but of course, this isn't the year we spend a lot of money. It's next year that we spend money. Did find out, and I think it was you, Louise, that mentioned that there was a question raised on do we approve the minutes or not? Well, I went to my AI agent and went to Robert's Rules of Order, and the treasurer's reports are not approved. They're handled differently than the minutes. The minutes are, you make a motion to approve and you vote on it. The treasurer's reports, certainly.
It's just accepted.
That's true. You took the words out of my mouth.
Oh, okay.
Well, it's on the paper too.
Oh, I didn't read that.
I think the reason for that is that you can ask, I welcome questions. I've gotten some good questions, but only the auditor is going to know if it's really right or not, so you can't really approve it. It's got to be the auditor that gets it approved. So that's, Ted will note that the report is accepted subject to audit. I think that's the way they will do that. We believe in transparency. I have the previous month's reports as far as transparency goes. When you donate, you can donate Act Blue, which is the favored way. We have the can plastic there, or our post office box. We have an office now, and I didn't put the address. And that is the end of the report. Is there any questions?
Where's the office?
Pardon?
Where's the office?
I'm going to leave that for Ted.
So it's at 1607 Capitol, which is the Paramount Building, Suite 325. We're sharing the office with the Wyoming State Democratic Party. So that does a couple of things for us. It gives us a better chance that somebody's manning the office at any point in time, and it cuts the rent in half. So, for everybody. So, I think it's going to end up being a good deal. So, I'm going to accept the treasurer's report subject to audit. I'll talk about events just a little bit, and then I'll let Kathleen add anything that I forget. First of all, we did have our open house at the new office. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed myself. I think we opened it up right. It was we spilled all out into the hall in the building. There was no way to put the people that came in the office, so that's a success, right? If you can't fit the people in the office, you're doing okay. So we had a social hour last month, which I was not at, but I understand it was very nice and it was a lot of fun with Blue Stem Winery. We'll probably have one more social hour before the end of the year, try to fit everything in between Christmas and Thanksgiving, which is not easy to do. The big event that's coming up next Wednesday is the launch pad for candidates. And that'll be at the Kiwanis House in Lions Park. We're going to have sort of if you can picture the sort of charcuterie and finger sandwiches you'd get at a high tea, that's what we're going to have, plus lemonade and water. So I'll tell you a little bit about what's going to happen at that event, I guess. I've done a little video on it that you can go to our YouTube channel and watch if you want to watch the video. But we're going to have, essentially, it's going to be, and I would say 4 sections. First of all, we're going to greet everybody and introduce everybody and all that sort of thing. We're going to have a candidate panel, and we've got some all-stars on this panel as far as I'm concerned. Kim Bartlett, who is, she's our national committee woman for the Wyoming Democratic Party. She's also run for a House district in the Bighorn Basin. If you've ever spent much time in the Bighorn Basin, which I lived there for 7 years, so I feel like I can speak with some authority. The Bighorn Basin's so red it makes Laramie County look light pink. And Kim got, when she ran for her House district up there, got 40% of the vote. I think if she can tell us how she got 40% of the vote, we can win some races here in Laramie County. Hey Lynn, so she'll be on the panel. Jen Pasqua, who has run for school board, run for a House district, and was my campaign manager for a Senate district, and was just voted one of the Wyoming Women of Influence, will be on the panel. Marguerite Herman is going to be on the panel. And Ken Chestick, who is in the House from Laramie, from Albany County, he's going to be on the panel. So that we have a person there that's won a recent race. And we'll ask the panel, what they learned when they were running, what they wish they would have known before they started, what worked, what didn't work, all those kind of things.
What time is the?
What time?
It starts at 6 o'clock, Marguerite, and the candidate panel will be first thing. I know you have a time constraint, so we'll make sure that we get the candidate panel in before you have to go. The second thing we're going to do, Lindsay's going to have a presentation from the state party called Campaign in a Box, which is going to be just a bunch of things that she's going to put together for candidates that will be helpful to them. Everything from, people to contact at the state that can help them out to what print shop do you use in Cheyenne if you want to get your printing done on time. That kind of thing is going to be in her little presentation. Then the last thing, I'm going to do a presentation on what the county party is going to do for you. And there's going to be, this time for our candidates, there's going to be a lot of things. First of all, we're going to, as Dave mentioned, we're going to support every candidate as soon as the primary concludes. We're going to support every candidate monetarily. We're also, everybody that files, we'll pay a filing fee for you. But beyond that, there's a whole bunch of things that we can offer. One of the things I started thinking about when I ran, the things that I wish somebody could have helped me with. And like everybody says, you need a website and you need a Facebook page and all that. Well, I don't know why we can't just add a page for you on our website and post you to things on our Facebook page. That does two things for us. If everybody's doing that, we get a lot more reach, right? Because there's tons more people that are going to that website or to the Facebook page to look at every candidate. We have a YouTube channel, and we have some people, Jim and Butch, that are very good with this. So we'll be able to give that to candidates. We're going to give them a bunch of organizational support. I'm going to try to be the vote builder data maven, I guess, for Laramie County. That was another thing. My vote builder learning curve was really steep when I was trying to run for office. And vote builder is so powerful. It can do so many things for you. We know that, in every House district, I can tell you who each Democrat is in that House district. I can tell you who each independent voter is in that House district. If all of those people vote for you, that won't be enough votes to win in Laramie County, unfortunately. So I can tell you which Republicans are Republicans, maybe because they switched from D to R in the last election cycle or the election cycle before that, because we know they're closet Democrats, right? They switched so they could try to help somebody win a primary. And if that's not enough people, and another thing I can tell you is what your win number is. How many people are going to have to? How many people are you going to have to contact to get enough votes to win? And we can go and find Republicans that might lean our way a little bit, so that people talk about knocking on every door, and from my experience, you can't knock on every door. First of all, there's a whole bunch of doors in the county where it says no soliciting, so you're not going to get past that. Secondly, there's a whole bunch of doors in the county where you knock on the door, say I'm a Democrat, and they either slam the door or they go get their shotgun, and we don't want anybody to be put up with that. But what we can do is we can find Republicans that for one reason or another we think might lean left because of all the data that is in Vote Builder. So we can help people a ton with things like that. And once we identify these people, we can create mailing labels, we can create minivan walk lists, we can do all kinds of things. And we're going to do that for the candidates who want to run. Because I just think that's too big a hill to climb for a candidate all by themselves. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. I was working on the PowerPoint presentation right before the meeting, and I'm only about halfway through the list. Those are the things that I remember. But there's a whole bunch more. And if anybody has a question on what we might help with right now, it might make me think of something I've forgotten. Go ahead, Mark.
Well, just to mention that there are some new requirements for voter registration. And so there might be a lot of votes there that you can preserve, if not gain, because people need this documentary proof of citizenship and this durational residency, which takes, you got to assemble your documents. And so the party could help people figure out what documents they need and get them.
Right, and that's actually on my agenda, Marguerite, and it's about the next thing. So, in just a minute, we'll talk a whole bunch more about that. I want to make sure I get through all our events. Is there anything else, Kathleen? Did I forget anything about the launch pad?
No, I just encourage anybody who'd like to come, even if you're not thinking about running, just to kind of see what we can do for people. Might trigger something with you, somebody you think might want to run. And they're not committing to anything. So this is just information, so they shouldn't hesitate to come. And you can encourage people that this is just an informational meeting. You don't have to sign up, nobody's going to pressure you. We just want you to have some information before you decide.
But it also, it might help people decide to work on someone else's campaign as a volunteer.
Right,
That would be great.
right. So,
So about the next thing on the agenda is the things I was going to talk about in terms of communication, and Marguerite is right, and I was going to make we have a year to register voters, just about. That's about the most important thing we can do in the next year, I think, because of what I said a little bit earlier. If every Democrat turns out and votes for you, if every independent turns out and votes for you, the way our House districts are set up right now, you're going to still have to get more Republicans to vote for you than all the Democrats there were in your district. That's a pretty high hill to climb, right? So there are 35,000 unregistered voters in the county, and I'm open to every idea on how to reach those people and how to get them to register to vote.
Josephine did say she would go with me when I go sort out my registration.
Oh, I think that's going to be really cool. So that's a thing that we're going to do.
Yeah, do you want to share what happened? Like, how?
Yeah, so I got divorced, and when you go update your name at the DMV and the court changes your name, they don't change your voter registration, and they don't tell you that, and so you think you're still registered to vote, and you are not.
No, you have to do that separately.
The thing about Wyoming, though, you can register, if you're not registered to vote anymore, you can register the same day that you go to vote if you become unregistered.
If you have all your stuff.
That's true, yeah, if you have all the right documents.
How many people drop off our radar for that?
Well, that's the other big thing, because I went to a thing and I'm like, oh, I'm a registered Democrat, and I always have been, and then he followed up with me and he's like, I don't see you on anything, and I'm like, it's because I changed my name at one point.
Or people get purged and don't realize.
Right, right.
And you can't on election day, you can't possibly show up and on election day and, with all your anyway, you can't get after them.
And if we all did, I've talked to the county clerk, she would be overwhelmed if that's what we all did, and that would mean somebody doesn't vote, right? If everybody's going through this, I'm going to register the day I vote, there's going to be a line clear up to Chugwater of people.
I mean, that's part of voter suppression. How long does it wait?
Especially if you're also having to update your address at the same time, and your address doesn't match your name on your paperwork, and
I think the new rule is if you get married, don't change your name.
Yeah.
Because it's too damn But when this Chuck Gray started doing all this crap, I just went in and said, I want to make sure I'm registered to vote. And he looked it up and he said, no problem. So it just takes a minute to do that.
And if you want to do it the easiest way, shoot me a quick email. I can tell you in a heartbeat if you're registered to vote and what.
I'm so glad you looked that up for me.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So a couple other things that we're doing, and then we're going to get into actually doing an election here tonight, I think. So there's some folks that are working with me on a virtual phone bank. This has been a technological challenge because, first of all, we want to use a voice over IP phone that's a Laramie County Democratic Party phone so that somebody's not using their personal phone to call everybody in the county. And I think we've almost worked through all the hard parts about that. And then there's this virtual phone bank. It's a thing through Vote Builder. It works out real well, except it's more technology. And I think we've about worked our way through that technology too. So we're about ready to just start calling people. And for those of you, and I think everybody that's working on this with me is in this room, thank you so much. I really appreciate the help. And then we do have a YouTube channel. Now I don't know if you've signed up for it or not, but if you sign up, the trailer's pretty cute. Jim and Butch helped me with that. And then the next thing I was going to get to on my agenda just walked out of the room. He'll be right back. So let me see. Oh, I know what I can talk about until he comes back. One of the things with this voter registration, if you try to register people, help people register by mail, which is the way it works in Laramie County, we know what nobody but the county clerk can register somebody to vote. So we can't register anybody to vote. We can't tell people we're going to register them to vote. What we can do is we can help them with the paperwork so that they can register by mail. But even that has some challenges. The first thing is the paperwork they fill out has to be notarized. So if you meet with somebody and they want to register to vote and they fill out all the paperwork, you have to have a notary there that can stamp it. Then they have to have a color copy of their driver's license. So wherever they happen to decide they want to register to vote, they have to have a good color copier there, which that raises the hurdle. That makes it really tough to go door to door getting people to register to vote because you're lugging that printer with you all the way. And if you think about it, the people who aren't registered to vote probably don't have a color printer sitting in their living room either, right? Then the third real big hurdle is if you send all this paperwork in and there's a mistake on it, these people are not registered to vote and the county clerk never calls them. So they think they don't let you know. So they think they're registered to vote and they're really not. So I'm going to hand out what I think is an alternative, and I ran this by the county clerk, and Deborah Lee liked it a lot. She liked it a lot better than trying to help people register by mail. It's a voter registration pledge, and I'll just hand some copies out, and you guys can take a copy, pass it around, or just read it and pass it around. But the idea is that somebody makes a pledge to register to vote, and in this pledge, they write down their name, their phone number, and their email address. So now we have visibility. Now we can follow up in 2 weeks and say, hey, this is Ted Hanlon. I was just, I was at your door a couple weeks ago and you signed the pledge to register to vote, and I wondered if you'd been able to get down there and get it done. We know who these people are now. And if we just have them do the paperwork and send it to the county clerk, as soon as they send the paperwork, we don't know them. They're gone to us. And they're gone to the county clerk as well if there's any mistake. So take a look at that. I'm going to try to get some folks to work on that this winter. It's the best idea that I've come up with so far. Hopefully there's a better one out there somewhere because there's a lot of imperfections in this one too. But at least it's an idea. At least it's a way to move forward. Okay, so Eddie's back, and our big order of business tonight is we've been we've been one person short on our executive committee. Well, really ever since I was elected chair, because I had been the state committee man before I became the chair, so that's been vacant. I would entertain nominations for state committee man. I nominate Eddie Mendez. Is there a second?
A second.
Are there any other nominations? So having no other nominations, I move that we affirm that Eddie is our state committee man by voice vote. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded that we nominate Eddie by voice vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Congratulations to our new state committee. I'll get you some business cards made up, Eddie. Everybody else has got them. So, let's see. Okay. Boy, that was it for me. Is there any other new business?
I missed, there was a question on how to change, in Act Blue, how to change your amount. And you can donate on Act Blue without making an account, but you can't change, then you can't change the amount that it's just the way it is. So what you do is, and it doesn't change anything except by making an account with Act Blue, that makes you that allows you to change your amount.
So that brings up one thing too. It hasn't come up in this meeting, but it's come up for people before, and it came up at the state central committee meeting a few weeks ago. We all have probably heard that the Trump administration is trying to sue Act Blue and keep that from being a viable way to do this. And Kim Bartlett, our national committee woman, had just been at a national meeting where they said, the Act Blue people said, we're ready for this. We've got a boatload of lawyers. Don't worry about Act Blue. We're going to be here for a long time. So that was Kim's advice. So I trust her. That's why she's coming down to the candidate launch pad.
I just want to pass on some information. We collected church food for needs, but now it's better to give a check because they can buy in bulk. And it's really nice to bring food for them. But if you give a check instead, that can get you more food than bringing a couple of cans.
Sure, I think that's a really good point.
Just to let you know, if people want to give a check, it really helps buy in bulk.
And actually, you can donate to needs on their website, so you don't even need to leave the comfort of your home.
This will be next in line. So I went to what I said they were called? The Lonely Liberals of Laramie County. Is anybody in here in it? So they've got this whole group of people that are pretty new and relatively way younger than me. And I think they have coffee on Saturdays too at 10, so I'm gonna verify that and try to get Ted to go down there, because they're like, well, how do we get some people to come talk to us about running for stuff? And I'm like, wait, we're doing that.
Launchpad, come to the launchpad.
So every other Tuesday, is it?
No, this one they meet, I think they meet for coffee every Saturday at 10 at the Paramount, but I'm not sure.
No, well, they have evening meetings at the office.
Well, that's what I think they do that once a month. So that's what I went to Thursday night was it's not really a meeting, it's more of a social gathering.
Yeah.
Are they on Facebook or?
Meetup. 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 And then my other thing that I was going to bring up, I saw Charles Fournay talk at an Invisible meeting, and he's a podcaster from Cheyenne that was a teacher here, and now he's teaching at LCCC, and I talked to him a little bit about how do we engage, how do we get like a Young Democrats started there or something like that. And he actually recommended not using that name because it would scare people, but it would also people would get ridiculed. So I'm going to reach out to him and ask him what other groups that might be interested in like incorporating some of this stuff with their group, maybe, and we could help that way. But I'll let you know what he ends up saying. I'll email him and see. But it was, if you couldn't go, if you didn't know about it, it was great. He's a really good speaker. It was a lot of fun. So that's it. That's all I have.
Thanks, baby.
Any other new business? Our guest speaker tonight is our vice chair, and she's involved in, I can't pronounce this, naloxone?
The Wyoming Naloxone Project.
Wyoming Naloxone Project. And so she's going to talk to us about that.
It wasn't supposed to be me. It was supposed to be Angela from CRMC. She's a doctor in public health, and she has the flu. So now you're stuck with me. We'll see how well I use this. How many of you are familiar with what naloxone is? That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. So Narcan. The Naloxone Project has little cards. I don't have any with me tonight, but I can get some for anybody who wants some that you can hand out to people that they can take to City Drug to trade in to get naloxone. Also, you can get it for free at Recover Wyoming. They just have a supply. They'll give you as many as you want usually. Don't take a case, leave some for other people, but you can usually get as many as you want to keep on you. So she doesn't have it on here, so I'll read it off the website. But the Wyoming Naloxone Project Overdose and Workforce Initiative, which is part of that, she didn't include in here, so I just want to add that, is a little separate subsection, and their vision is for every Wyoming worker to have the awareness, knowledge, and tools needed to respond to an overdose, and for every Wyoming employer to be empowered with the knowledge and resources needed to address overdose risk in their industries. You can find this through the Naloxone Project website. I can put it in an email for everybody if you're interested. And as an employer, you can get your own shipment of naloxone for your staff. And I know when we tend to think of opioid overdose, we think of like the addicts in our lives. But a lot of time, in one of the growing populations of opioid-related deaths in the United States are older people who are on long-term pain management and medications. Palliative care can be still an acute overdose. And before I get started on her slides, which I wish I could put up, but I can't, I did want to share with you guys, in case you didn't know, and this statistic is as of 2022, being mindful that each year, about a little over 100,000 deaths each year in the United States are attributable to a opioid overdose. So in 2022, we had more than 800,000 deaths from opioids since the beginning of the opioid epidemic in the United States. So now we're looking at over 1 million, right? And combined, that is more deaths than deaths in all U.S. wars and armed conflicts combined since the Revolutionary War. So we've lost more people to opioids since the late 90s than we've lost to all U.S. wars combined since the Revolutionary War. Yeah, it's scary and it's a big deal. So I'll try to go through these slides and show them to you guys. So for the general Naloxone Project, the overall mission is to provide assistance for widespread naloxone distribution. So their main goal is to make sure people have Narcan in their hands when an overdose happens, because they're going to happen, regardless if we're prepared or not. So they really target medical setting through the vouchering, which is what I described with the little cards they hand out, in the workplace, through recovery organizations, and at community spaces. They try to have these stocked, so people have access to get their hands on some Narcan or naloxone. What the Naloxone Project can help with is providing free naloxone training. So they're also available in case, we can set one up here too, where she comes in and shows us how to use it, because I think that's one of the scary things when you're, saving a life. Am I doing it right? And if you're like me, you might fumble it and spray it off into the sunset. And now you're like, now what? So the more prepared you are, the better. They can also help draft policies for organizations and help with ordering from the state. So some of the current projects, like the one I mentioned of getting Narcan in the workplace, is harm reduction resources. So they want to build on developing harm reduction resources, one-pagers to put in high volume overdose areas, links to harm reduction resources, and provide education on immunity for drug overdose reporting law, which was that was a pretty big deal when we got that. If you've ever tried to pass something to help people with the Wyoming legislature, you know how tough that is. And, you know, they kind of want to have their little twist on it, like when, you know, we got Martin Luther King Jr. Day, there had to be Wyoming Equality Day too, you know, just have to stick something to it. So we do have what they commonly refer to as like Good Samaritan laws. So if you're with somebody and you're using, and there's drug paraphernalia, and somebody overdoses, we want people to call 911 and not be afraid of retaliation or arrest or any of that. And so they got that more or less, except that the reporting parties have to commit to treatment of some kind. And so often, in my experience, both personally, and I used to work in the First Judicial District, we weren't prosecuting people who called in overdoses because law enforcement wasn't hauling them in. And that's a lot of their discretion. So law enforcement, first responders are really on board with that already anyway. But in the interest of, you know, you get one bad egg who wants to flex their power. Now their power is a little more limited to penalize people for being helpful and trying to save a life. They also initiated the naloxone leave behind program. So they provide naloxone for all fire trucks and ambulances in Laramie County, provide harm reduction trainings and strategies for fire crews, and they train emergency responders to input naloxone leave behind medical records. So not just leaving behind, you know, if they respond to an overdose, Narcan them, they don't need other medical attention, nobody's getting arrested, but they leave behind Narcan or naloxone for the people there. And then to document that so we can kind of track it. Like how much is out there? How helpful is that, you know, in the field? Rodeo circuit education. They order naloxone for cowboy medics. They distribute ads to all counties for rodeo season. And they have some really cool ads you can't really see on here, but they're printable PDFs, if anybody ever wants some, really targeting that rodeo scene. I mean, if you've ever seen somebody get bucked off something and then stop, I mean, those guys get some opioids. Those guys have some long-term pain and maybe not access to opioids in any legal form. So they're a high-risk population that we see a lot of. Workforce-specific project, which is what I mentioned before. So they're doing this in collaboration with the Wyoming Department of Health. And they have specific focuses on construction, mining, petroleum, and distribution industries. Because that's a lot of our industry, you know? And these are people that work hard. Their bodies ache. There's just a higher risk for use of opioids or misuse or abuse of opioids. So what this project focuses on is getting out there and what can we do for your organization. So they try to make it very specific, tailored to people's needs because it's very different in different areas. I can tell you when I worked in community mental health, it blew my mind, and this is back in 2018, that we didn't in residential treatment, especially the crisis house. There was no like crash cart. There was no naloxone. And these are really high-risk populations, and they're allowed out during the day, and they come back, and I mean, it's not like we can strip search them, right? It blew my mind that we didn't have naloxone. And again, when I worked in the medical setting, and I worked for UC Health after that, or actually before that, and then a little bit part-time after that, those settings, we didn't have access to naloxone either, and I'm sure they do now. And then when I was working in the prosecutor's office, neither in the prosecutor's office nor on any of the floors or areas in the entire governmental complex over there, except for the jail. I can't speak to that at the time. I don't know if I'm assuming they had some. But nobody else had any naloxone, which was wild to me. I mean, again, you're dealing with a high-risk population. You know, you have somebody coming in on a possession charge, and maybe they used right before they walked in and they go down. What are you going to do? The court clerks, they didn't have training, they didn't have naloxone. I mean, it was really surprising. So it's really, this project aims to abate those issues for those reasons, because it's kind of seems self-evident that it could be problematic. But naloxone wasn't available, and neither was the training. So I have Angela's contact info if you have any more in-depth questions than what I can answer, but does anyone have any questions?
I have a stupid question.
There's no stupid questions, Louise.
Please, I'm older than you. I've heard a lot of stupid questions. Don't physicians have something else they can prescribe besides opioids for pain? Because when I had my shoulder replaced and my knee replaced, and they gave me a prescription, I don't take them because I have a very high tolerance for pain, but isn't there something else they can prescribe so they don't get people started on those things?
There are some alternatives. It just depends on how extreme the pain is and who your provider is. So my husband's a person in long-term recovery from heroin and meth, and his opioid addiction started as a matter of getting blown up in Iraq. And his providers, I mean, he looks like John Cena. They tranquilized him like a horse, and he developed a problem. Tells him he has a problem, they cut him off. So what does he has to go bite on the street? As a person in long-term recovery, he had knee surgery and a nose procedure the day before that, or vice versa, actually. But the knee surgeon, the orthopedic surgeon, told him there's no way that you can manage this without opioids, which is a real slippery slope for us. And it was a slippery slope for us because he believed him. Fast forward 2 years, he had 3 separate spinal surgeries and discectomies. He had no opioid medication in his anesthetics or in his aftercare, and he survived that. So it really depends. You have to really advocate for yourself to see what those options are, because sometimes it might be a muscle relaxer that's really low grade, low likelihood for dependence. Sometimes, you know, it might be like tramadol. It might be some other type of medication that's not an over-the-counter, but it has a lower potential for abuse. Yeah, so it just depends. So sometimes.
So you really have to advocate for yourself and say, I don't want to take those, is there some alternative?
Yeah, I mean, because they're pretty strong. I mean, and there's a really good video, and I can have Ted send the link out to everybody that I recommend everybody watching, from an author named Johann Hari. His name is Johann Hari, and he wrote a book called Chasing the Scream about addiction and the failing war on drugs we've been waging for 100 years. And he talks about, so like when, you know, your grandmother goes in to get a hip replacement, right? They give her a type of hydromorphine that is stronger than heroin. It's more pure. It's better than the stuff you're going to buy on the street. But grandma doesn't come out of surgery a heroin addict. Well, why is that? Because it's not just about the chemical hooks. So sometimes the advocacy you have to do is for the mental health portion. And if it's for somebody you love, like what does the aftercare look like? Is my husband going to be sitting around isolated from the world, questioning his own masculinity because he can't pick up his kids or go to work? Well, maybe we need to get some mental health support in that also. Because it's not just about pain, because it's not just about the chemical hooks. Yeah.
We need a lot more mental health support in a lot of areas.
Yeah, and a lot of stigma erased, especially for men. And us tough broads, right? In Wyoming, like I can count on one hand how many times my mom's asked for help, you know? So it's just really erasing that stigma, but advocating for the people we love, because sometimes they won't. When you're on the inside of something, you have the worst vantage point. So you have to really have people around you that you trust when they say, I don't think you're doing okay. Let's ask what they have to help support you mentally while you're physically healing, because sometimes that's better than pain meds. Yeah.
What's in the box? Is it a spray thing?
Yeah. So typically what you'll get will look like this. They're 2 single-dose nasal spray devices. Don't be afraid to use both. Sometimes, and there are statistics on this. I didn't look before I came here, so I'm not going to speak to it because what I know is probably not accurate. But often it takes more than 1 dose. I've seen, in 2015 early 2016, got a call that my sister had OD'd and passed. Well, and I showed up, and I thought I called the coroner. The coroner says, Josephine, you still have to call 911, start CPR. Ugh, I don't want it. So I did. And she was still alive, but it took 13 administrations of Narcan.
Oh my gosh.
So use them both while you're waiting for emergency first responders to show up. Just go get more free ones. It's okay. Just use them all. Use all the ones you got.
What are the symptoms?
Yeah, so lethargic. If you're watching somebody overdose, they're going to become incoherent. They're not going to be responsive to really anything you're saying, and they're going to nod off. They call that, depending on what they're using, but kind of generally, it's called the heroin nod. A gray kind of waxy pallor, which is why I thought my sister was long gone, because she was gray, she was waxy. And there's a term for it, I don't remember off the top of my head, something contracture that they do. So my sister was kind of twisted up like rigor mortis, and that's another common overdose symptom, that like their muscles just contract like that. So you might see that. My sister did not have any visible respirations, and she had no detectable pulse. So even still, administer the Narcan. Worst case scenario, it doesn't work. Best case scenario, it does. So if you find somebody, unresponsive, just still try. Like I wholeheartedly, I called Ron Sargent. Hey, can you come get my sister? Are you gonna call my dad or am I? And she was alive. It blew my mind. So, don't assume just based on how scary and not there they look. And especially if you see any paraphernalia, but you might not, because fentanyl is mixed with so many drugs. I mean, they could be taking it orally, so you might not see any paraphernalia that would tip you off. They might be smoking it instead of injecting it, which is just as deadly. Well, maybe not just as deadly, but when it's fentanyl or carfentanil, it's just as deadly.
So that's for anything you've overdosed on,
Opioids, any opioids.
only opioids?
Yep. And some of the signs for like an acute amphetamine overdose will be a little different, but kind of similar. A lot of the times they'll start taking off their clothes because they feel hot. It'll just be a little bit different. It's not going to be the same kind of gray, waxy appearance. We can go over that another time. I could talk drugs all day, every day. So, but Narcan is specifically for suspected opioid overdose. But if you find somebody overdosed and you don't know what it's on, Narcan's not going to hurt them. So give it to them, because they also might not know. So even if there's other people present and they're like, I don't know, man, we were doing cocaine, it might have fentanyl in it. Yeah.
What does the Narcan do? What does it do?
So it reverses how, your body's absorbing, it's a blocker. It blocks it.
It inhibits the process of the drug adhering to the blood cells in your body.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, much simpler. I was about to go really detailed, and I was like, how do I make this simpler? It blocks it. Yeah, so it's an opioid inhibitor. Stops the binding process.
Is your sister still alive?
Somehow, man, yeah, she is. Still, cycling, pinwheeling between recovery and not. But, where there's life, there's hope. There's so many limited resources, especially for moms. My sister's a mom. She has 6 kids, 3 are adults. 3 are still minors. So my mom is one of those grandparents in the state of Wyoming, which there's a lot of. I don't know the statistic now, but in 2018, it was something like 50,000 grandparent households on paper in the state of Wyoming were raising grandkids. So my mom is 70. She runs circles around me, but she has kids to keep up with. So there's not a lot of resources. We used to have Chrysalis House around here for women and moms for residential treatment. It's been a long time since we had that. 2016, maybe? Something like that.
Yes, really taught him how to re-engage with the family, and then when they introduced the kids, yeah, it was good.
Yeah, and when funding got cut, you think they cut it from the men's residential treatment? No. That's just right over here. And that's a pretty, I mean, it's a pretty good program for what we have, you know, but there's just limited options. Anyone else? All right. Well, if you want to talk drugs, come find me. And if anyone wants to take this one home, it's yours.
One little thing I would add. Some of us in this room might think, well, gee, I'm never going to run across anybody that's going to need that. Not only might it be somebody in your own family that you would never have thought, but all of us that are in this room for various causes that we support, which, goodness sakes, I'm proud of everybody for supporting all the causes they support, spend a lot of time in the library. And so do a lot of people that don't have anywhere else to go. And I know that librarians in the Midwest, a lot, have a Narcan supply because people collapse in the library. So if you spend a lot of time in the library, you might think about getting some.
Or just even, yeah, you have somebody older in your family on medicine. You know, if there's any kind of neurocognitive decline of any sense, they might have already thought they took their meds or didn't. Medication mismanagement in certain populations, especially older adults, is a big market for naloxone.
Okay, before I adjourn, there's a couple of things that I thought of that I should have mentioned, just things in the news that you ought to be aware of. One of our city council members has decided that the way to tackle the homeless problem in Cheyenne is to fine somebody $750 for sleeping in public property. The current fine's $50. When you think about it, if you're sleeping on public property, you probably don't have either one, but $750 sounds kind of ludicrous. Mark Moody. Mark Moody, he's one of our city councilmen. So there's some testimony at some hearings next week, or not hearings, but what am I trying to say? Committee meetings next week. And I'm going to try to be at one. And then the other thing that is in the news is the plan to further reduce property taxes. And we're testifying on that next week too, and Angela can tell you exactly when, and I'll probably get it wrong. So Angela, when is that testimony coming out?
Wednesday on the 19th at 8:30 in the morning. We're also trying to pack the room just to show support that we're not into that. And if you want, you can wear green. We'll also have stickers.
Where's it gonna be?
At the Capitol, right here in Cheyenne, in the extension, room 5.
And I believe Josephine's testifying, right?
Yes, sorry, I didn't reply to your email, but yes.
And I am testifying. And Tom's testifying. Eddie's testifying. We'll be there.
I'll pack the room.
Is it on Zoom also? Can we watch for?
I think I heard Angela say that it is on Zoom.
I think for the $750 fine thing, I think public comment is allowed Monday at noon?
I think that's right.
Yeah.
I think that's right.
Well, I mean, okay, it's over the lunch hour, but again, it's like public comment suppression, like, hey, while you guys are at work, we're gonna do this.
I took vacation time just to be there.
So Justice Sotomayor had a great line on this whole thing, that sleeping is not a crime, it's a biological necessity. I just love that line. So that's a mic drop line, so I can't think of anything else. I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Some will be adjourned.
So it's been moved and seconded that we adjourn. Let's go home. Thank you all so much. Made my week. Love seeing you.